The Fan.
9 to noon.
Time for two more.
Big boy's back.
Just listen.
PFT.
And that's a fact.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
I got too many men out there.
The Vikings.
Okay, calm down.
Boom.
Fire away.
9 to noon is in the air. Good morning. Wolves coach Chris Finch coming up a little later, plus the Chicago Tribune look at the beleaguered Bears and pressure points with a talkback or two. But first, here's author, commentator, broadcaster Mike Florio with ProFootballTalk.com.
PFT.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I am great, Paul. How are you?
Quite well. Thanks for the time adjustment. So it helped me with this. I want to make sure I read it right yesterday. The Associated Press will not include Sam Darnold in MVP voting. Is that accurate?
MVP? No. What are you talking about, MVP?
No, sorry. I knew I misread it.
Right church, wrong pew. Wait,
Right.
Not even the right church. The Comeback Player of the Year conversation involves Sam Darnold because after last year, the AP clarified the guidelines to try to ensure that only guys who are returning from a season in which they missed time due to injury or illness will be in the Comeback Player of the Year conversation. Now, they claim it's not a reaction to Damar Hamlin losing the award to Joe Flacco last year, but this dates back to what Shereen Williams of PFT calls coming back from sucking, that you shouldn't win it just because all of a sudden you have a good year when you didn't have a good year the prior season, or as the case may be, you've never had a good year and finally you did. The problem is the way they've clarified it, it creates an opening to wedge Sam Darnold into it because they include the phrase other circumstances that kept the player from playing the prior season. Well, it doesn't take high-level mental gymnastics to say the circumstances that apply to Sam Darnold are the Jets ruined his early career, the Panthers made it worse, and then last year he had the choice only to go be a backup for the 49ers, so he didn't play because of all these other circumstances, and now he's having this great season, comeback player of the year. So they're not going to prevent the voters from casting a Sam Darnold ballot. And how it works now is you go 3 deep on every award except MVP, where you go 5 deep.
Got it.
So, if I decide and I'm one of the voters for some reason, that just tells you what's wrong with the AP's process in and of itself, they'd give me a vote. If I decide Sam Darnold's the most worthy or one of the 3 most worthy, then I'm putting him on the ballot.
Right.
I don't care what they say because, look, they've never supplied any guidance on what comeback player of the year means. And now that they supply some, it really isn't as narrow and focused as they, I think, intended.
Have the last 3, and especially the most recent for Sam Darnold, Mike, astounded you?
Well, first Vikings quarterback with 5 touchdown passes in a game since Dante Culpepper, Week 1, 2004. Cowboys-Vikings, 35-17 victory. First time with 42 points since Week 7, 2019, win over the Detroit Lions. The game on Sunday, and really, it's one of those where, and I think back to the days when I had limited access to highlights, especially on Monday. The only thing you ever saw were the highlights of the local team, and I grew up in Pittsburgh territory, so it was always whoever the Steelers played. Maybe you'd get a little bit more on the late evening news if mom and dad even let you stay up late enough to watch the late evening news. It was the next morning's paper. And there are all the scores. And you see 42-21 and you think, man, the Vikings kicked it, man. Well, no, it was 21-21 in the fourth quarter. And then the dam just broke.
Yeah.
But the 5 touchdown passes, getting the ball to Jordan Addison, getting the ball to Justin Jefferson, the way that Sam Darnold extended the play on the touchdown that made it 21-13 right before the Falcons went hot knife through butter and tied it up. Breaking away from the pressure, running to his right, firing the ball down the field. Justin was wide open because the guy trying to cover him fell down, as many will do if they have to cover Justin Jefferson for more than a few seconds. That was something that we haven't seen in a while, and it's arguably the best performance from a Vikings quarterback since Favre in 2009. I think it's clearly the best since Favre in 2009. The question is it the best since Culpepper in 2004, which was, but for Peyton Manning going nuts that year, an MVP season for Dante Culpepper.
With the Minnesota Vikings, Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, NBC's Football Night in America. We have what we think is a wonderful book buying opportunity this holiday season. More on that momentarily. Would you care to cast your gaze to a month from now? Like, Philadelphia has some internal fracture to it. The Lions' defense is down to 4s and 5s in some spots. With the Vikings, what do you think of what you're seeing?
Well, it wasn't all that long ago that these Vikings games would be the perfect cure for insomnia. The sluggish win at Jacksonville, the sluggish win at Tennessee. How good is this team really? Is this the worst 10-2 team in NFL history? And then they dismantle the Falcons, a team that was tied for first place in the NFC South, a team that was 6-3 not that long ago. They overcome the 7-0 deficit, and it kind of felt like it was going to be 10 or 14-0 early in the game. I mean, you think about it, 7-0, and the Vikings outscored them 42-14 after that.
Right.
So are they peaking at the right time? Are they going to continue this? They've got 4 games left, and I think these next 4 games are going to reveal a lot. Because first, trap game Monday night with the downtrodden Bears coming to town. They just lost 38-13. They've lost 7 in a row now. Then it's the, I think, very difficult finish, the trip to Seattle, which is always a tough hand to play if you're the visiting team. And the Seahawks have now won 4 in a row. And then at home to the Packers, who are a tough team to play this year. They've lost 4 games to 3 teams that are a combined 34-5. And then you've got the Lions week 18. And, it reminds me in 93 when it was Giants-Cowboys, final week of the season. Winner gets the 1 seed. Loser is the 5 seed. I think at the time it would have been the 4 seed because there were 3 divisions. But that is what's in front of the Vikings. They could end up, 14-3, maybe even 15-2 and not be the 1 seed. It's just amazing that this is the most overlooked 11-2 team that I can ever remember. There's just a presumption they're going to be a wild card, and maybe that's still how it's going to play out. But 1 game behind the Lions, they could have beaten the Lions back in Week 7, I think it was, and they get a crack at them again, and they may get a 3rd crack at them in the postseason with the whole season riding on it. And if I'm a Lions fan, I just worry about how that riverboat gambler approach is going to work when the whole season is riding on these screw it, let's just go for it moves. So there may be 2 very compelling Vikings-Lions games still to come, and one with all the marbles riding on it.
Florio.
The Philly fracture. Do you think Brandon Graham got after A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts a little bit because he's respected, a bona fide leader with that group, and he knows what he said on WIP radio could be ice-breaking for quite the talented team?
Well, the Eagles have done a great job of circling the wagons and keeping everyone's mouth shut about whatever it is that caused the team to fall apart last year. It just feels like something was going on, and they never broke ranks. They never said anything. And when Brandon Graham came out Monday night on his WIP show and said that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts were friends, but then something happened, and he said more things that point to a personal issue between Hurts and Brown. And then they trotted him out with a mop and a bucket to clean it up in comments to ESPN.com, and he recited all the talking points. But then at the end he said, hey, this is just 2 brothers who need to work things out. So there's something there. And what this means for the showdown on Sunday, and this is the first time since 1985, Week 15, you've got 2 different games with all teams having 10 or more wins in Week 15, and they're on at the same damn time, 4:25 p.m. Eastern on competing networks. But when the Steelers come to town to face the Eagles, as the Bills and the Lions are getting together, 325 cornfields, by the way, sensitive to the time zones. But now the Steelers know, and Mike Tomlin knows, hey, you know what? A.J. Brown is getting a little frustrated. A.J. Brown getting a little upset. Let's go after him. Let's rough him up at the line of scrimmage. Let's take a few penalties if we have to. Let's keep him from getting the ball because maybe he's not that far away from erupting. And maybe they're going to make a concerted effort to get him the ball. So let's key on him. Let's double him. I mean, that's why it's unfortunate that this kind of stuff comes out, because it gives the opponent exactly what they need to know to try to take advantage of that fact the next time that the team plays. So there's clearly something going on there. Chris Sims, in looking at the film, he believes there were moments where A.J. Brown's wide open and he's the first read on a play and Jalen Hurts just doesn't throw it to him. And Chris's question is there something personal that's going on here? So it's a bad situation for the Eagles, and it's the kind of thing that could throw them off late in the year. Just like last year, they fell apart late. They could fall apart late again. And, that's important from the Vikings' perspective, because not only do they have to overcome the Lions, they also have to hold off the Eagles if they want to emerge with the top seed.
And you mentioned the Seattle Seahawks. How loud is Softy about the Seahawks right now? The Vikings catch them a week from Sunday out there.
I do the Wednesday bit with them at 6:10 Eastern, and I had them at number 13 in the power rankings. When they started off 3-0, Softy was giving me a hard time about not putting them higher, and then they hit the skids, and he shut up about it. But they've won 4 in a row now, and Leonard Williams told me after that game against the Jets where he had the 92-yard interception return for a touchdown, I asked him about playoffs, and he said, I'm glad you mentioned that, because coming out of the bye, we adopted the mindset that this is the playoffs, and we're treating all these games like playoff games, and they've hit some consistency. They've fell into a nice groove. They beat the Cardinals twice in 3 weeks, which at least eliminates the Cardinals from realistic NFC West contention. The Rams are the ones that I think they have to worry about, and if the 49ers can stack a few wins, then maybe the Seahawks need to worry about them. But, hey, the Seahawks are doing well, but if I'm any team in the NFC playoff field, I don't want the Rams to pull their way into this. We saw what they can do on that Thursday nighter against the Vikings, and the Rams weren't even at full strength then. They're now healthy, and they looked great offensively, not defensively against the Bills, but they looked great offensively, and this is a team that if they would get in, of all the teams the Lions don't want to see, and if you're the Lions, you don't want the Packers or the Vikings to show up in your building in the playoffs because they're not intimidated by you. They play there every year, and they'd love nothing more than to knock one of their rivals off their perch as they close in on a potential Super Bowl run. On the Lions, I don't want the Rams. I don't want Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford almost beat me last year in the playoffs. He almost beat me week 1. I don't want to give him a third shot to come back to Detroit and end the best season. It reminds me of that scene in Caddyshack. The good Lord would never disrupt the best round of golf in my entire life. The Rams become the bolt of lightning that take the guy out.
All right, lastly.
PFT.
Yeah, we. Is Bill Belichick going to coach the North Carolina Tar Heels because he no longer is wanted by NFL teams?
Well, it's been a week now, Paul, since the report emerged of Belichick talking to North Carolina and possibly taking that job. And one thing that's happened, or more accurately hasn't happened in the last week, there's been not a single report of any other team, college or pro, interested in Bill Belichick, clamoring for Bill Belichick. Not even a report from one of Belichick's minions in the media, and there are more than one, saying something along the lines of, a team has reached out to Bill Belichick, but it's a sensitive situation because that team currently has a coach, or something like that. There's been nothing to suggest anyone else has reacted. This is basically speak now or forever hold your peace to the other teams that are out there that might want Bill Belichick. And we reported this on Football Night in America on Sunday. One of the reasons he's talking to North Carolina, he's very surprised he hadn't heard from any of the teams. We did the legwork. The Jets, the Saints, the Bears, none of those teams with vacancies had contacted him. I don't know whether other teams have been talking to him off the radar. as they decide what they're going to do after the season. But we know this is how it goes. Owners just don't roll out of bed the day after their season ends and say, am I going to fire my coach? Maybe I'll flip a coin on it. No, they know, and they start looking to see what's out there. And he hasn't gotten enough play. And if he's in play for college football, there's got to be other programs that are going to be firing coaches. They haven't reached out. They haven't tried. Hey, we're looking for a coach 30 miles up the road in West Virginia. I haven't heard anything to suggest that they've even contacted him. We beat North Carolina in the bowl game last year. I mean, we're a better program right now than North Carolina. If you want to come coach at the college level and you want to win, come here. I've heard nothing to suggest there's even been an inkling of trying to get him. So there's a lot of baggage that goes along with Belichick. You got to be willing to give him the keys to the car. And apparently, I've heard it and I've seen it reported, he's trying to work this deal where he sets up a succession plan for his son. So he coaches for a number of years, and then he hands the keys to Steve. And Belichick basically becomes coach emeritus, and they move forward with Belichick University on the campus of Chapel Hill.
Hey, here's the idea. With the books that you've written, for those listening now who like the gangster vibe, who have a mob bent to their distraction fascination, how about the books Father of Mine and Son of Mine in tandem as a surprise for somebody in a family who likes that genre? What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's a good idea. You can get both of them for $14.99 at Amazon right now in print, the ebook. And I don't know how you would gift someone an ebook, but it's $3.99 for Father of Mine and $4.99 for Son of Mine. And also, it's the Christmas season, Paul. We've got the On Our Way Home Christmas story that lands smack dab at the intersection of It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol. So that one, I wrote it 3 years ago during the month of December. And I didn't intend for it to carry messages of redemption and reconciliation and forgiveness of yourself if there's a relationship that can't be reconciled because the other party to it is no longer with us, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff there that's helped people. And again, I never intended that to be the case. I just wanted a story that was interesting, and I thought it was interesting. But there's a lot there, and for people who struggle during the holidays, you might find something in On Our Way Home that helps you get through it, maybe with a different perspective, and maybe you resolve to repair a relationship, or more importantly, and I don't want to take a whole lot of time saying this, but I heard from somebody, because one of the subplots deals with a family member who has committed suicide years ago, and the surviving family member just kind of shuts out the person's memory in retribution for the fact that the person committed suicide. And the character comes around later in the book, but this person who read it basically lived that and was shutting out all memory and wouldn't talk to family members, kids, et cetera, about this person in the family who had committed suicide. And reading On Our Way Home prompted him to reconsider his position. So again, I'm not trying to do anything like that, but if it helps people, and I think it does, that's one to definitely consider for the holiday season. It'll get you in the holiday spirit. It's bittersweet, but it'll get you in the holiday spirit.
Beautifully stated. Thank you very much. And ProFootballTalk.com or Amazon.com to get information. Have a good day.
Thanks, Paul.
See you, bud. Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com. Now, courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes Minnesota Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch about 25 minutes from now. And alas, much more, including 9 to noon, spreading some holiday cheer with a mad producer Christmas concoction.
Things are starting to really feel so listless down in Chicago. They're about to be 4-10 after they lose to the Vikes again, with Caleb praying for open lanes to throw. Things are starting to really feel so listless. Tears from DJ Moore. Such a terrible place to be with a frustrated rookie QB. Morale meets floor. Now with Eberflus gone in the Song of the Swan, with the GM that's making no friends, The franchise a joke, the perpetual choke of a season that comes to an end. And Kevin Warren stuck with bad contracts he has to extend. Things are starting to really feel so listless down in Chicago. Monday night they'll be in the tank. For that we have Sam to thank. They're all in white, the lights are bright, you know. Things are starting to really feel so listless for the awful quitting Bears. While JJ and Addison sing, the defense is doing their thing. It won't even be fair.
It's beginning to feel like Con Miss. Well done, Eric. Nice job, bud. 9:20. This is 9 to noon. If you missed the totality of that, we're going to play it back a little later. And Vikes Bites are next. It's 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
Vikes Bites.
Beefy.
Perfect timing for that liner, by the way, because as a bit of a promotion coming up in the 10 o'clock hour.
Pressure points.
We're going to be asking for talkbacks from you, the listeners. You're thinking about a team that's 11-2, trying to go 12-2 in prime time, all white out at U.S. Bank Stadium. Well, what are some pressure points for your favorite team facing the Bears as you look at a squad that is still scratching and clawing its way atop, hopefully, maybe atop the NFC North? So, free iHeartRadio app. You'll listen to our show there. Hit the microphone. You'll see the icon there. You can give us up to your best 30 seconds, and I will sift through them and play a couple during the 10 a.m. hour.
Vikes Bites.
But it is time for Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
Beefy.
You can shop online, and a box of meat will show up at your doorstep. Local co-ops and local Coburn's locations as well. You can also check out, of course, Gophers Athletics. They're proud sponsors. Thousand Hills are of Gophers Athletics. We love you for it. To Wes Phillips, you're going to hear more from the offensive coordinator later in the show. But this, when I saw that he was talking about this, I had to grab this audio for Vikes Bites. It's in relation to trick plays.
Wes, with the trick plays, I'm just curious what the thought process is of going to those in the red zone as often as you guys have, and what's just behind kind of putting those in every week. Or not every week maybe, but when you guys do put them in, how much do you focus on them going into the week?
We get some reps. We got more reps than we'd like maybe to admit sometimes when it doesn't work out like you'd want, but that's kind of the nature of some of those. I mean, you kind of fire off a bullet, you feel like you had a good look. They made a good play, credit to them, but we still feel like there's some things we can do better to make those things go. But it's not necessarily it's going to be a red zone type play. Sometimes it's flow of the game, when to get some of these calls off, situation in the game. It's not really, hey, we're just going to run these things in the red zone, but some of them show up that way, and then some of them, across the league, some of them show up that way, kind of in that strike zone, fringe area, whatever you want to call it, where, you're able to potentially throw the ball in or score from one of these plays where you don't have to necessarily go through red zone offense and the tighter and more condensed defenses you face that can be challenging, getting inside the 5 or the 10.
So more from Wes Phillips later, but I'm glad he mentioned the red zone. The Vikings were 4-4 in the red zone on Sunday. And so this is entering nitpicking territory, but I'm just trying to imagine over the course of the week how good they felt about the first of 2 trick plays that they attempted, in which there were about 4 laterals that ended up with a 5-yard loss on a pass to Jordan Addison, where the defense just didn't bite. So they got the look, and they actually did not get the look. Maybe that was ideal, but I'm sure it worked in practice. Then the second one, you're at the doorstep, and I believe it's Darnold going out as a receiver.
Yep.
But it was an illegal formation or motion penalty because the quarterback is kind of used to being under center and not going out to pose as a QB. And we were posed with a question during Fanline PA, like, you're right at the doorstep, guys. Like, can't you just run it in? We've talked about offensive line, moving guys forward, and maybe some of the things that Kevin O'Connell has to concoct to make things work, specifically in short yardage situations. But what do you think of the trick plays? It's easy to bash on them because in this particular case, they didn't work, but you like it when you see your favorite team get tricky out there on the field?
Yeah, I think some of the trick plays are cool. When you get inside the 20 and things become claustrophobic, I just think they're a lot harder to run when you're doing reverses and flips. And now you got, the quarterback goes to a receiver, the receiver goes to a receiver, the receiver throws to the other side of the field to a running back. It gets a little overly tricky. Now, Bursich for years has referred to the area around the 50 as the alumni zone. I love that term because it's like in college football. You get the ball there, you got the alumni there, you got the boosters, you're thinking a little NIL. Well, let's run a couple of these tricks.
Yeah.
And show Grandpa with all the cash over there why he needs to invest. Well, the alumni zone is generally the 40 to the 40.
Right.
So they've pulled off trick plays before, and they've worked. In fact, there was one against the San Francisco 49ers last year on Monday Night Football. Next level Shanny stole, put it in his back pocket, unfurled it in the Super Bowl, and it went for a touchdown to Christian McCaffrey with Jawan Jennings taking a pass left, throwing it all the way across the field right, and there goes CMC. Vikings ran that play on Monday Night Football, and I can't remember if it worked, but I don't believe it was a touchdown. So there's room for it. But the art is catching somebody off guard with it.
Yeah.
And last couple really haven't caught anybody off guard.
Vikes Bites.
And Jefferson hasn't thrown a pass in a month and a half, or like 2 months. I think he threw one in the Indy game, maybe to Aaron Jones for like 26. And the plus-size punter hasn't thrown one in, 2 years?
Right.
One of 2, 13 yards. Holy cow.
Yeah, let's save it for Ford Field Week 18. Speaking of being caught off guard, how about this from the new guy?
Atlanta 3 of 5 on third down. Cousins back to pass. Hasn't been sacked until now. It's a sack by Jamin Davis.
So Jamin Davis picked up, and I believe he played 4 snaps in his debut with the against the Cardinals as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. The linebacker played 9 snaps in this most recent game. Got the sack, as you heard there. That's the only sack we put on Kirk Cousins on Sunday. Flores still just trying to find the right mix. I mean, it's kind of been impressive work, PA, with Ivan Pace Jr. still on IR. I think he has to miss at least another couple of games here.
Yep.
But whether it was Kamu Grugier-Hill earlier in the season, he's still playing. I think he got about a quarter of the snaps on Sunday. But impressive work by Flores, just finding these guys, putting them in spots, and frankly, he's asking a lot of them, coming in on the blitz there, but he made it happen, and good for Jamin Davis, good for Flores, finding concoctions that work.
And Davis was a pretty high draft pick like 4 or 5 years ago by Washington, and he played for the Commanders this year.
Yep.
In fact, when the Vikings played Arizona, Davis had played the Cardinals earlier in the year. I think maybe even in the season opener. That's a placeholder until Ivan Pace Jr. returns for the assumedly for the Green Bay Packers game. There were some interesting and maybe in coach speak, maybe he said it yesterday and I just missed it, but Flores talking about the sit downs and the one-on-ones he's having with Dallas Turner. And there have been, multiple tweets about it, including some different things. And the sit-downs with him about how to work, how to prepare, and how to get ready for what seems to be an expanding role. I thought that was pretty cool from 6 in a row, 4B Flow.
6 in a row, 4B Flow.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites!
Beef.
I'm going to play some audio here from Matt Daniels. You'll hear more from him later as well. But here he is, just kind of running through things. I got the kicker and the snapper back.
It was good to get both Poe and Will back. Obviously, Will kind of had to miss there on the 47-yarder. But overall, he feels great. He's in a good spot. The missing head wasn't anything injury related or anything like that. Really thought he struck it well. Just really probably had just more of a kind of bad line more than kind of anything there. But Poe felt great getting back. It was awesome just to kind of get the unit all back together right there. And
so everyone's healthy. Everyone's feeling good. The rookie kicker just absolutely smashed it off the upright, and we're going to forgive him, and he's going to be perfect on Monday night against the Bears.
It was great to get the Poe back.
It was great to get the Poe.
Got the Poe.
The nicknames are flowing once again from the special teams coordinator. I wanted to pair that audio, though. Welcome back, Mr. Reichard.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for your services. Parker Romo, who is now on the Patriots practice squad. We mentioned it just kind of in like news to Nord like fashion yesterday.
Yeah.
I think he's got a chance to play for the Patriots this season, PA. Joey Sly, 22 of 28. He's missed twice from beyond 50.
Joey Sly's their kicker?
Joey Sly. 2 times from just under 50. Once from below 40. He's missed a field goal inside 30, PA. Maybe that was blocked or something. I wasn't skimming for Joey Sly highlights this morning. But welcome back, Mr. Reichard. And it looks like Parker Romo, there's a kicker battle out east, and our guy's in the thick of it.
And Trent Sherfield Sr. Just continues to amaze me because he's a bit player, all right? Now, a couple of games ago against Arizona, we mentioned it in passing when Mad Producer the Con began to press yours truly on some Jefferson questions from the Arizona game. So then I got into the trusty computer and I looked at Aaron Jones' second fumble, the one in the Arizona game that he caught, bobbled, and then held it, and then he lost it. Well, on that play, Justin Jefferson was open for a nice intermediate hit, center of the field. Probably would have got you about 25. If you step up and look a little deeper, Trent Sherfield Sr. had run by everybody for an 86-yard touchdown if Sam, the man on the fan, had seen it. And again, FIDA, Fairness and Darnold Act, FIQA, Fairness and Quarterback Act. Sam Darnold's not the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to miss a wide receiver on an 86-yard touchdown.
Well, and that's why they're moving on from him next year, PA, is because of that play.
Mm-hmm. And there's your talkback at the free iHeartRadio app for pressure points. But Sherfield Sr. is part of the special teams mix because at one point, when he came into the league with Arizona, all right, he's looking to establish his lot in life. Gets with the Niners, ends up being one of the better gunners on punt coverage in the National Football League, and then was in and out with it. Well, he's very much in with it now here. He's very, very good. I mean, because Najee Thompson was the guy last year opening eyes, and Najee's gone. He ain't playing this year. So, Marcus Sherrills is the best that I've ever seen in my years calling Vikings games. Trent Sherfield Sr. is helping that too, along with Jay Ward. So the whole operation is coming together quite nicely, led by the long snapper, the Poe.
And that's Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Thank you for providing Vikes Bites, lifetimegrazed.com.
The Minnesota Timberwolves are back in action in a couple of days, taking on the LA Lakers at Target Center. And our weekly conversation with head coach Chris Finch is around the corner on your home for Timberwolves basketball, FM 100.3 KFAN. Here they come. There is the, may God rest his soul, Flipnosis bat signal for Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Should be calling us shortly. Chat about that squad and then move into a man who used to cover the Minnesota Vikings. He only did for a couple of years, I think, like 2011 and 2012. But since 2013, he's covered the Chicago Bears. He's Dan Weeder to talk about the beleaguered Bears in the neighborhood of 10:03 after that pressure points, courtesy of Sukup and Sukup.com. With the pressure points, the Nordo, the con, mad producer, he has one. I have one involving Sam Darnold and pressure points. And if you are so inclined, head to the free iHeart Radio app and go ahead and leave a pressure point for us. And who knows? It quite likely will be played. And joining us now, Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and twoharvest.org, along with Prize Picks. Chris, good morning. It's Paul Allen. How did rehab go? It seems arduous.
It's going well. I mean, the people that I work with at Mayo are first class, so it's been a long road and continues to be a long road, but it's going well. Well,
and because I care about you and I prefer the nuance of things, is there like forever a hitch in your giddy up? I mean, it's like of late I've noticed when you've been storming out on the court a little bit, there's been a little hitch in the giddy up. That knee feeling okay?
Yeah, it goes through periods. It's there's a little hitch in the giddy up now, but they're telling me that in another 6 months it should go away. So it's all just about strength and stability right now. I have range of motion. That's been great. Mm-hmm. Just got to keep building up the strength and stability.
The team? What do you guys do this week with no games until Friday and Sunday?
Well, we traveled back on Monday, and yesterday was off day. Actually, we have different types of off days, and yesterday was what we call a blackout day, where we literally just shut the facility down. And,
good.
Guys, they can, of course, come in if they want to, but it's just kind of a mental day, get away, go do what you need to do, be with your families and all that. And then tomorrow, we have a couple practice days, which is a lot of fun at this time of the year and much needed. And then, we actually have a few practice days next week. So, really perfect opportunity for us to get better at some things that we need to practice on over the next 2 weeks. So.
And sadly, you guys weren't in the Final Four of the NBA Cup, which comes to fruition very soon. But we've talked about this before. I like it, especially when you get closer to the prize and the $500,000 for each player. Like, I don't know if you watched Orlando, Milwaukee last night. How about the Magic without Banchero and Franz Wagner, their best two players? I mean, you talk about a scrappy bunch looking to get that money. At Milwaukee against a full-strength Lillard, Giannis, and the gang. You see that game last night? That had an NBA Cup feel to it.
Yeah, I did. I saw a lot of the second half. I missed some of the first half. But, yeah, that's just exactly what this Cup is intended to do, is create some early season intrigue, give anybody a chance. I mean, what you're really reducing is, in these Cup games, you're reducing your exposure and your odds of failure over a long 82 season. So you have a small season of a handful of games. Anybody in any condition can really win that. And, we saw that last night. Of course, they didn't win, but it was a great showing by them.
Your Timberwolves won 4 in a row, just took 2 of 3 on the road and lost Sunday at Golden State. After the game, Rudy Gobert was quoted as saying, "I think I like where we're at, not in terms of the standings, but more in terms of the things we've been through as a team and our awareness right now," end quote. Do you sense a team identity forming, or perhaps has it arrived?
I do. I think Rudy's right. I think he nailed it. I think, looking at the standings, you can look at it several different ways. We're only a few games out of either direction, so it's going to be this way all year long. We need to continue to put a bit of a run together and build off of what we've been able to do over the last couple of weeks, but that's all driven by the same thing that drove us last year, which was an elite defense. And then we got to get better at closing out these games. And early in the season, I thought we had turned a corner and we were doing a really good job in clutch minute situations. And then, over the last dozen games or so, we've been in a lot of clutch situations and we haven't finished them well. It's been turnovers. Our defense has gone away at times. It's been scoring droughts, and it's been poor shot selection at times too. So execution and all that's on all of us. It's on me. That's on our guys. It's been a different thing almost every single night when it comes to our clutch basketball. So we've got to get better there. We know we're going to be in a lot of these tight games. That's just the way the league is, particularly the Western Conference. Having said all that, I do like where the team is. I like where its spirit is. I like where its competitiveness is. I like where its connectivity is. And it feels like it's finally taking root.
The word execution. Are you familiar with one of the great head coaching?
Yeah.
John McKay. John McKay.
Yeah. John McKay. Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, winless team, media. What do you think of your team's execution? I'm in favor of it.
I always love that one.
Well, it's immortality. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell was on this radio show a few weeks ago and talked about the unprecedented attention Justin Jefferson receives most games. And his analogy was, quote, imagine an NBA superstar being tripled every play and with the game on the line, end quote. Is that what Edwards at times or maybe mostly is facing late in close games, or doesn't it work that way in the NBA?
No, I mean, I don't have to imagine it. I'm living it. We are living it. I mean, Anthony is seeing so much attention all throughout the games. And then at the end of games, of course, it ramps up even more. They're certainly put two on him and bring more traffic to him, when there's two on him. So it's incumbent on him to figure out ways to stay aggressive, but yet make the right play. And he's done a better job of that this season as a whole. I thought the other day, he could have done a better job getting his teammates involved down the stretch. But yeah, it's hard. I think the difference is, in basketball, and I was just having this conversation yesterday with one of our assistants, as a receiver in football, they need somebody to get them the ball. That's the nature of the position. In basketball, you can go get it yourself a little bit more. Have it in your hands right away, so you can use that gravity when the ball is in your hands and there's multiple people on you to create great offense for your other teammates. So I would imagine in football, if they're doubling and tripling, then they're certainly opening up someone somewhere else, and you got to take pride in the fact that you're creating those opportunities without even touching the ball.
And Chris Finch, 9 to noon, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. Time for two more. And speaking of Anthony, he seemed super wound up in those Golden State games. And here's what I mean. Barked at Steph at the end of the win, ripped himself for not passing more late Sunday. Is that born of getting so close last year and just desperately wanting to win a title?
I mean, I think there's some of that in there. I would just chalk it up to a little bit more of a personal battle. Having a relationship with those guys through the Olympic experience. Right. Certainly Steph, he has an incredible amount of respect for. I think Steph has helped him in a lot of ways, subtle ways, mature ways. And then, of course, wanted to prove to Steve, that he's, that's how Anthony is. He loves his Olympic experience. He loves playing for Steve, but, the competitor in him also wanted to beat Steve and prove to him, hey, maybe I'm a little better than you think I am, or maybe I should have played at times when you didn't play me, or I don't know what the driving factor is, but I felt that was at the heart of it more than it was just the championship quest. I feel, I think Anthony certainly wants to win the championship, but, right now where our team is, that's our long-term goal, but our short-term goals are, just to, like we talked about earlier, get this thing once and for all going in the right direction.
And lastly, whether you're winning 4 in a row or you're trying to work through 8 and 9 and stuff like that, how much do you have to police those worrying too much about how others on the squad are playing? Like being overly concerned with things an individual cannot control.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about me as a head coach?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's my job to try to get these guys, obviously, to play their best basketball all the time. We know that's not the case. So, but first and foremost, I think I've found a lot of issues in coaching are solved if you can identify one or two of the main problems. And I think offensively we needed to play a little faster. We needed to get back to moving the ball earlier in our offense and have less ISO opportunities. And we focused on that and a lot of other things. All of a sudden, people start playing better because the shots go in and the ball's moving. Just so instead of trying to address every individual little issue, whether it's a person's poor performance or something the team's not doing, just try to find the one or two things that you can fix and that are big things. And a lot of those little things are related to it. Defensively, we certainly had to take steps to get back to where we were last year, and we've done that. So we got to just maintain that. We gave up a 44-point quarter the other night. That was very damaging, and we can't have those. But all in all, if you look at the last 5, 6, 7, 8 games we've played, we got the number one defense in the league, and that's what we've got to focus on.
Amen. Thank you very much, and we'll call you soon, all right?
All right, thanks, PA. Take care.
Yep, see you, bud. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org. Chris is a board member for Second Harvest Heartland, so give it a look if you are so inclined. And we also thank Prize Picks. The Minnesota Vikings are in quest for another prize Monday night against the Chicago Bears. Dan Wiederer covers the Bears for the Chicago Tribune, and he'll give us an adversarial update next.